So let's just give maybe some background for those who have been hiding under a rock and are unfamiliar, haven't seen your channels just yet. Could you explain to people how this all got started and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, in 2021, I got interested in a company called Palantir, and I started covering the company by making some videos online. I didn't know there was going to be that much demand for those videos. I kind of had a position and thought, let's just put it out there. Let's see what people think. And I realized a lot of people cared about the company. At that time, the stock was around $25. Stock ended up going to $6 a year later. And the people that were talking about it kind of disappeared because it's hard to defend a name that's down 70%. For some reason, I just felt very committed to continuing discussing the thesis. I don't even know why. I mean, there's so many different nuances, but like at its core, there was like just something internal that was like, this is special, this is real. And eventually, hopefully, the stock comes back. And now it is where it is today. We built this great community, and now it's just full-time content creation.
It's really expanded out as well from Palantir. It's almost like there's been multiple cults that have kind of coalesced, it seems, into one area, right? When you take Palantir, you add Hood to that. There's Grab, there's Tesla. So how do you kind of decide which areas you're going to?
Part of the question is chicken or the egg. Was the cult there first, or was because people like Amit coming in and leading it and found a great company and built it around it? And one thing that I think Palantir and Robinhood also both have in common, the way they connect with retail as well. Perfect storm, but I do wonder if someone like Amit being there to lead the way is the reason that these companies are have that cult-like mentality. But I apologize for interrupting you. I think you are a big reason for it on these ones.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a bit of excitement around some of these companies, and like there has to be some like natural level of demand for you to be able to make content that people care about. But what gets a lot more people interested is someone who can put out high quality content on the names. And Palantir, again, there was always a lot of interest around the name. I think my constant videos really started solidifying a lot more people to get excited about it. And it's not just me, there was a bunch of other people, but I guess I was like kind of the core people on YouTube every single day putting out videos. And that led to this community. With Robinhood, honestly, there weren't that many people interested. Robinhood had a pretty prolific journey given the 2021 GameStop fiasco. And so a lot of people just forgot about them. And so when I saw them and I got interested and I started putting out more content because I had a bit of a following already from Palantir, a lot of those people said, hey, why don't we take a look at the next thing Amit's talking about? And thankfully that one has done well. So I feel like a lot of these new cults are formed after the compounding effect of being right a couple times. You got to get the first couple right. And then hopefully you can get a lot more right throughout the lifetime.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I want to dive into these companies. I have a lot of specific questions within them. But before we go a little further into there, can you just talk to us a little bit about what the goals are now? The YouTube is over 100,000 subscribers. The Twitter has been rapidly growing. I feel like that interview with Vlad was also a huge moment that really sent things skyrocketing. So what's the goals now with everything that you're doing?
Honestly, I just want to keep growing. I think in the attention economy, it's really hard to consistently grow as a content creator. So there's a lot of work you have to do to level up and diversify the types of content. So I have some plans for 2026 in terms of different types of content that I want to create. There's no master plan or master vision on this. I'm just the guy talking about companies that I enjoy speaking about and analyzing the macro markets. And I just love doing that every single day. So I continue to do it. So yeah, I think at its core, the growth has really been due to just like being obsessed with putting out content and like analyzing the markets in a way that's consumable for the average person. And so, that inevitably developed a following. I don't know in the future what that looks like. Is that writing a book? Is that, building a bigger media enterprise? Not fully sure, but I do know that whatever you're trying to do, you have to have people's attention to be able to even have a chance to succeed at it. One thing I am getting a lot more interested in is angel investing. And based on some of the connections that I've built with the audience, I've been able to make a few investments that have done relatively well. Some of them might go to zero, but some really good prospects. And so is there a world where, I can raise some money and start a VC fund? Maybe. I don't love VC investing as much as public market investing, but public market investing is a lot more scary than VC investing because like you're managing a lot more capital in the public market. So is there a world where I'm actually managing big money one day? I don't know. I feel like that's a long time from now, but I do know that having people's attention is the first step to even have a chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Building that attention economy. Also this past year, couple big milestones. So you did a lot of travel. You put on events around the US that I feel like were very successful. Is that something that you're planning to continue doing?
Yeah, that is definitely a big plan for 26. I'm actually working with a team to organize that and get the structure and logistics of that to become a lot more real. And the simple philosophy around that is that all of us that communicate on YouTube and Twitter when it comes to stocks, our friends and family don't care about what we're doing. So there's not really a community that you can go to. You can't go with your buddies to the bar and talk about the stock market because they don't care about it. And that's just the harsh reality of investing and the ecosystem of investing. So the meetups are just a way for people to be together, talk about the stuff that they care about, and get drunk, to be honest. And so that's the idea. And
Are you having Shirley Temples? Are you having Shirley Temples, or are you drinking anything there?
Well, given I'm talking to everybody, I tend to not get as drunk as everybody else. But yeah, I think we can make it a lot bigger, and these events can one day be in much more bigger venues. So it's not really something to make money off. I haven't thought about it from a profitability perspective, and maybe one day in the future there's like a business there. I just thought about it as, if you are a content creator and you can create an experience for your community, that community is probably going to keep consuming your content because they're now part of your world and they've physically been able to interact with you. So to me, it was always a question of like, even if I'm losing money on throwing the meetups, which I basically have for the past year, like, can we cultivate a deeper community? And that's the goal for 2026 as well.
So have you just been like kind of like renting out the place yourself, covering some of the food and drinks and things like that? It's just all on you?
Yeah, pretty much.
All on that.
That's kind of a theme a little bit, though. Trust me, we have talked to Amit. We have tried so many different angles. You do not take sponsors. No sponsors. Like, don't even bring it up. Do you think that's a part of the success here? Do you think that it's just kind of waiting for the right people, the products that you actually go in and use every single day, waiting for you to get to the scale, which 10K live concurrent, you can work with anyone? Do you think it was kind of waiting for the right people, or is there something in there about not working with sponsors at all?
I don't know if the money is worth attaching my brand to someone else's brand. Maybe if there's the right brand, one day it'll make sense. But in the finance space, you tend to have a lot of these smaller companies that, it's not Oracle or something. It's like a random startup that's like, so it's like
right. When Tesla starts marketing.
But do you have a dream brand? Dude wipes, 8 sleep. What's like the one random product that you use every day that you're like, get it for me? Hat sponsor? We get a lid sponsor?
No, but see that wouldn't. I really don't think I will ever do any of those names or company, and they're great companies. It's just my audience is not really suited for pitching a brand sponsor. They kind of know me. They know who I am. There's a certain level of authenticity you have with your audience, right? And if I said, hey guys, I wear these hats from Lids every day, Lids is sponsoring the show. Just like, what? It's like, so I've been in a grateful spot given my ability to navigate the stock market where I don't really need the sponsorship to be able to make money. And, hopefully that continues. But yeah, I just feel more free and independent without having that overhang.
Well, let's talk about that, because you've had some incredible success and you do post pretty regularly your return as well. What's if you're comfortable sharing it, like current return year to date in the market?
Well, today's a great day to ask, given how red we are, but
I know it's been a few bad days. You can give me as of last week if you'd like.
I'll give you right now 104.5.
Okay, obviously an awesome return.
It was 180 like 2 weeks ago.
Actually, real time Robinhood with a little red to green action midday.
Real time. Yeah, well, we're going kind of green, so it's better than what it was in the morning. But yeah, look, if we can end the year up 100%, I'd be really happy. Last year was 275%, obviously off a much smaller base, so that helped. It's a bigger base now, so to be able to double that, I think that's a pretty good year. And as the portfolio grows, I've been thinking a lot that what's carried the portfolio over the past couple of years is Palantir and Robinhood, obviously. NVIDIA this year was a big addition in January after DeepSeek, which, I don't know that much about it. I knew it was important, and I just bought as much as I could. My average is 122 on that, and I just kept buying. I just kept buying, and at some point I woke up and, Jensen was in Saudi Arabia. The stock was at 130, and then it just kept on going on a run. So I'm thinking of 2026. How do I construct the portfolio in a way that is not just dependent on those three companies? And so I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. But I also do think, diversification is tough to get those types of triple-digit returns. You really need to solidify into some winners. And Palantir and Hood have been the two winners over the past couple of years that have got me to this point.
What I find really interesting, is that it also kind of equates to your channel a little bit. That like the fast growth in there, Palantir and Robinhood being both winners, huge winners. And obviously you're doing your stream every single morning. The morning open one is your most popular one. It looks like it's getting more than 10K live concurrent. That might even be a little disrespectful. We might be at like 12 or whatever now. So I think that's like an interesting part of it also, because I'd imagine that's been a little bit of a focus for you. I've seen the deep dives that you're doing out on your Substack. That has been pretty awesome. I've read one or two of them, the grab one. But diversifying it out going into next year is something that I think it also kind of fits in your YouTube page for a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of the YouTube growth has been because of Hood and Palantir. Like Palantir to me was like once in a lifetime. I don't know if I'll ever find another company like that, from 7 to 200, now back to 170. But it really gave me a name, but you can't be a one-hit wonder, right? So you got to get the second one. And I wasn't even looking for the second one. It just happened to come and see Robinhood trading at 8 billion market cap, 6 billion in cash. Looked at Vlad's personality as a founder, realized I use the product every day. And I was like, maybe there's something here. And then, it took me on the second journey, and that one went from 7 to 150. So it really did solidify the ability for someone to see the channel and say, okay, this person can look at these companies and be able to make a prediction about what can happen with them. And a lot of people hopped on that journey. So they made a lot of money. So they're obviously very grateful. And I'm very appreciative of that. But now it's like, can you find the third, fourth, and fifth one? And I keep trying to tell myself it's very hard to find a 10x in less than 2 years. Like that's just not easy. And so same thing with the portfolio. Like I would imagine the portfolio does not grow triple digits every year, because like you kind of have to preserve the capital when you get to that level at that point. But thankfully the channel now has a base where a lot of other people also are in that same situation, where they have a lot of gains and they want to protect it now. They don't want to just YOLO it to find the third one. And I guess that's how the channel is evolving as well.
Yeah, I have questions within there. So maybe we can just dig a little bit deeper into the process. You lightly mentioned it there for Robinhood as to what the process was. Do you find that your research process is methodical, as in it is similar across the board here, where you had a approach to Palantir and then that carried over to, Hood, Grab, other pieces, or does it differentiate based on sector, type of company, other items like that?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of sector, I think that there's like 3 things I look to. Number 1 is management, and can I trust the team that's running the company? I really, really do care about that, because if I can't trust the team, it's really hard to put a sizable amount of the portfolio if you're like trying to make a big bet on the company. Number 2 is like profitability. Like, what are the financials look like in the company, and do they have a path to profitability? They don't have to be profitable, but in Palantir and Hood, we're not profitable when I invested, but I need to be able to see the operating leverage in the business get to a point where either on an EBITDA basis or a GAAP net income basis, there is some level of cash flow that's coming to the bottom line that, at the end of the day, you're paying an earnings multiple for a stock. You want to see some of that earnings. Even if it's a high earnings multiple, you want to know that earnings is continuing to grow. And then the third thing is just like quality of company, right? So like, what am I investing in a consumer-based business, an enterprise-based business? Are there recurring revenues? Is it cyclical? Is it a biotech, which I probably wouldn't touch because I don't understand drugs as well? Like, how can I assess the quality of business? I mean, Lemonade's a good example. I missed Lemonade this year because I just don't care that much about insurance. Lemonade just went up 30% after good earnings. And I heard the thesis on Lemonade. I spent some time doing research, but at the end of the day, I was like, it's insurance. It's not enough for me to be like, this is a big bet that I have to take. But the people that did take that bet, because they really understand all the details of it, they made a lot of money. For Hood, a lot of people just thought it was a brokerage app. Like, they didn't see the sort of like next generation of financial services for millennials that Hood was creating. I kind of did, because I had a lot of experience with it. And so that's why it helped. So a lot of it comes down to management, path to profitability, and then quality of company at scale.
Yeah, shout out to Robinhood. Finally got my message that my gold card is ready yesterday. So, that's good stuff right there. And obviously you've had a lot of chances and times to really sit down with leadership and talk with them. Do you find that does a lot for your confidence and your thesis in a company compared to, watching them speak on stage somewhere or watching someone else interview them?
One thing that I've seen with Amit too is that I've watched your stream, and when Robinhood hits first 110 for the first time, like, you're not afraid to buy at the levels that are above your cost basis too. And to me, that means that the conviction still has to be more growing over time. So that's one thing, is you're not only are you buying these positions and holding them, you're also not afraid to add to them and, to continue to work.
Yeah, and Palantir taught me that lesson. When Palantir went to like 30, 40, 50, I got very scared of buying more, because I was like, well, it's so far above the cost basis. Like, how could I justify buying more? And, you can't do this for every company, but if it's a generational type of name, it is okay to average up, is what I've told myself. And quite frankly, it's worked really well. And I think it will historically work if you have the right name. If you're in a crappy name and you average up and then it goes, because their earnings aren't good, then it is what it is. But if you're in a good name and the company's executing at a phenomenal level, I don't think people should be afraid of 52-week highs. You should lean into that, especially if it's not momentum driven, right? If it's earnings driven, quality driven, fundamental driven, then I think it makes more sense. In terms of interviewing the CEOs, yeah, I think getting to talk to them and getting to actually, speak to them and sit down with them and conversate, that stuff is really important. I've had a meaningful amount of time to be able to spend with Alex Karp and Vlad, and just getting to, hear how they think about the world. It's very, very important, because at the end of the day, you're investing in people. These are the people that are stewarding your capital to potentially grow it. And yeah, that stuff is very important. And not everyone gets to do that. So, very blessed and privileged that I've had that chance.
When's the Jensen Huang interview coming? Did listen as the third portfolio name there.
You're more connected to NVIDIA than me. You got to set that up.
I did enjoy the event, but I heard that someone else might have been able to go, but it was right around their birthday. Totally a good excuse, be with the family. But my guess is 10K live concurrent. That's a Jensen Huang interview.
I would hope so. One day.
I don't think it's too far off. I do feel like, though, of the 5 companies, and how many total companies right now are in your portfolio?
I'll tell you right now.
It's super tough to live stream every day. I'm sure you hear so many names, and you have a lot of smart people come on your show that tell you different names. I wouldn't be surprised if you have like a couple core positions and then it's like 25 just random small ones that you're like, all right, shout out Steven or shout out Tanner. I'll buy a share or two.
Yeah, it's like around 10, 11 positions right now. But 2026 is, I definitely do want to do that idea that Evan said, is just have like a couple names where you just throw like a grand at and just, let it ride and see that. Because I do hear a lot of names every day. And I missed a ton of names this year, like Iran and,
We call that a watch list ad. Yeah.
What is that?
We call that a watch list ad, right? You throw
I buy one share, yeah.
$1,000 in. Now you're watching it. Now you're getting the Robinhood notification when it's up, down 5%.
I do like Tanner's community fund, the community portfolio that he's done. Now the portfolio is done pretty bad, but I like the concept.
Yep.
I had a question actually, real quick. I wanted to double tap into something that you were saying beforehand, which was on Palantir and Hood and a few of these others, and just talking about the strong governance and team. You've obviously talked a lot about Grab recently. I feel like that's the one out of the main core portfolio positions that I'm least familiar with their leadership. Is that one where you've been able to really research that?
Yeah, I've had a decent amount of time in terms of researching the leadership team. I've actually gotten to speak to a couple of them. Nothing like in terms of interview or anything like that, but who knows, maybe one day that's getting set up. But yeah, look, I really do think Peter, Alex, and Anthony, the COO, CFO, and CEO, really understand what they're doing and what they're building. The stock has been flat for the past couple of years. I think that's good consolidation for it to really make a big breakout. Company fundamentals, EBITDA, free cash flow, net income, user growth, everything's going in the right direction. It's not having the explosive growth that a lot of these tech companies have. I think that is possible for them to get to. That's at least the bet that I'm making over the next couple of years. But this reminds me of Palantir and Hood at $6 or $7, where no one cares about it until people care. Now, is it going to have a 10x, 20x type of return? Probably not. But I've publicly said I think Grab should be a $10 stock, and it's at $5. And so I do think there is a moment where it gets the breakout and the earnings begin to inflect. I don't know when that is, but I've spent a lot of time learning about management. I mean, the CEO gave up his relationship with his father just to be able to build the company because of how much he cared about starting Grab. Grab is responsible for almost 1% of the entire GDP of Southeast Asia. And then when you look at some of the institutional guys that are in it, Howard Marks, Ray Dalio, I mean, like everything I need to see is set in place. I mean, I've banged my head against the wall many, many times to try to figure out, am I wrong on this thesis? I've concluded that I think I'm right, but time still has to tell. I don't see the red flag that's apparent enough to leave. Like there's some other stocks I was in where I saw the red flag even after I get in position, I'm like, I get the hell out. But I'm like, there's no red flag. The stock's just flat. And I could deal with the stock being flat. It's just sucks when other stocks are running, but long-term, I think it'll work out.
I remember vividly my first Grab ride. I was in Malaysia, I want to say, and called a Grab to go from the airport. And they really have these huge Grab stations like at the airports in Kuala Lumpur, and super easy to find one. and the guy's driving me, and I don't know if anyone's driven around in Malaysia. It's very different than driving in the US. There's just like a million cars on the road. This guy's like one hand proing it through the area, and then we're like halfway through driving. He's like, "Do you mind if I eat?" And I was like, "No, like do your thing." Pulls out full lunch on the lap. He's just eating and driving me. I was like, "Man, this is wild." But hey, he got me there. So
yeah, I mean, dude, the level of employee growth that Grab supports in the region is astronomical. And I think they're becoming a super app for the region. And I really think they're taking market share. It's a very competitive region. Margins are tough, but I think they're starting to get to the point where it's consolidating and they are the winner. There's gonna be like 4 or 5 winners. They're gonna be one of them. I think it's a $100 billion company. Stock's at 20 billion today with 7 billion in cash. So I think it'll work out.
Nice. Evan, did you have a question there you were jumping in with?
Well, we kind of got to another one there. Do you think Amazon? I know that was one that was underperforming a little bit on the year. It's had a nice move over the last couple of days and weeks. I feel like the constant question I'm sure you get here is, are you just afraid of Amazons, the Ubers of the world coming in? And kind of on that a little bit, like how much of your portfolio is non-US companies? Grab seems like a little bit of an exception there, I would think.
Yeah, Grab is the only company that's non-US. And part of the reason it's not getting a crazy multiple might be because it's non-US. Now, granted, there's other companies like C Limited and Nubank that do get a multiple and they're not in the US. So I don't really think it's just that. I think it's just, the street's waiting for a little bit more growth to really continue giving it the multiple. 85% institutional float, by the way. So I do think the toots are just swallowing up the float as, it continues to consolidate at these levels. In terms of, what was your question again?
Just I think about Amazon.
Oh, Amazon them coming. Yeah. So the fun thing about Uber is that Uber tried to compete in Southeast Asia and then Grab ended up beating them back in 2018. And Uber had to take a 14% stake in Grab because they couldn't compete with Grab. And one of the reasons for that was because there was a cultural dichotomy between how Uber thought of like the region versus how Grab was able to interact with the drivers and the merchants and all this stuff. And so Uber admitted they failed. So, Dara, CEO of Uber, now has a seat on the board of Grab. They own, I think, 530 million shares. And they just said, we're not going to be able to dominate here. You guys go figure it out. So I'm not too worried about the competitive threats from something like an Uber. Neither am I worried about like an Amazon. Again, Amazon has different types of things to worry about in Southeast Asia, Mercado Libre in Latin America. So Grab to me, and Grab's not really an e-commerce, SC Limited is more doing that stuff. So I think on the ride hailing, food delivery, and financial services front, there's a vast opportunity for them to just become the industry leader. And then there's other verticals I think they can get into. And the organic user growth of their products is what's leading to 48 million people, 7% of the entire population using their product at least once on a monthly basis. That I think will grow. And as that continues to grow, the company's market capitalization should grow with that as well.
I've got a few different areas I want to go down here. I feel like we're ping-ponging around. But one thing, by the way, just as like you're continuing to grow, do you feel like your audience has really taken a deep interest as well in your personal story throughout all of this? I know that you moved to a new area, which, by the way, TikTok served me up. Your only TikTok.
I think that
you Yep, saw it. Looking for new friends. Like this whole thing is like kind of like a growth and a movement like happening. And it feels like your audience is very involved in that.
Well, that goes back to like the whole brand deal stuff. It's like once you're just doing it by yourself and you're truly independent, you tend to develop a very close connection with the audience, especially when you're listening to them every day or when they're listening to you every day, 8 hours a day, market open, market close. So it's like when you're in someone's ears every single day, they get to know your quirks, the weird stuff about you, how you say things, how you think about stuff. They don't always agree with it, but nonetheless, they're listening to it every day. It is kind of surreal sometimes when I think like every word I'm saying right now is like thousands of people are just listening to it. Like really big. It's kind of, you gotta have to tell yourself
ballrooms of people.
Yeah.
No, but it's funny. I don't know if it's a bit at this point, but sometimes you're messing up those words, some on purpose, some not maybe, but the chat goes crazy every time.
I can tell you it's not on purpose. People think it's on purpose. People think it's a joke because it makes it more entertaining. I can understand that perspective. I totally get it. And I really wish that perspective was true. And the ones that I have faked, like I call it Metallica, Metallica, obviously I'm faking it. But the far majority of it is very real. And I don't know what's wrong with me in some of these words. But like the fact that I can't pronounce words that apparently everyone knows how to say, but I don't know how to say, that becomes a running joke on the channel. And I think you kind of need that stuff for it to be fun. Otherwise, finance can get really boring. So yeah, I think they take an interest in my life because I'm with them every day. On top of that, we're talking about money every day, and a lot of money is very emotional for people. And if they listen to something on the stream and then they make money off of it, whether it's a stock recommendation or a headline that I call out and someone makes a trade once I call out the headline and they're listening in the background, like that starts to create a very important connection between you as the arbiter of the information and the audience. And then they care more about your personal life as a result of that, which isn't always the best because there's some things I really do want to keep private. And a lot of people ask certain things. And I'm like, I just can't tell you these things. But on the other hand, you also understand why they want to know these things because they feel connected to you as a creator. So,
all right. Obviously, like they can't have your address. Like, what are the other things people are asking for?
I mean, just things about your personal life. Like some people are like, you should interview your dad. I'm like, I don't want to show my dad to 10,000
Okay.
people. Like it's like, my dad's his own person. It's like, like address, location, relationships. Some of this stuff you don't want to tell. Some of it's good content and it's funny. Other stuff is just like, I need to have and I've been thinking more deeply about this of just like having a separation between YouTube and my own personal life. And as I moved out and I have my own spot, I really do want to make sure like I have a life outside of work, because honestly, for the past 4 or 5 years, it has just been work. And I know you guys, because you guys are building something really special and it's just pure work. So having that boundary, I think is important. Like, when I get married, I'm not showing my wife if I'm still doing this in 5 years and I'm married, I don't want the whole internet to know who my wife is. I feel like for her privacy and for the sake of like our relationship, that would just be weird. I know there's some relationships that thrive off using their relationship to create content. Right. I don't want to be that guy, but I know people are going to want to know what she looks like, but I'm also like, I want to protect her. So it's just a tricky thing to manage going forward.
Good luck, my guy. The internet's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, no, I can totally respect it and hear where it's coming from. I was going to say like one point off that you mentioned, one of the things that's pulling people back in is really the confidence I think they gain from the consistent engagement with you. And I've even experienced it. So it's funny enough that you mentioned NVIDIA and DeepSeek and what happened there. And I'll be honest, like I've owned NVIDIA through, ETFs and different things along those lines. And I've had some that have like high concentration and exposure to it, but it had never really been like an individual position for me. And I know Evan's had it for forever and he's probably up thousands of %. So it's a different story. But for me, it just hadn't been that. That was more my Tesla. That was like, I've been in Tesla for forever. But NVIDIA, I remember I'm reading through your tweets and you're talking about the DeepSeek situation and you wrote some very long tweets on that and really, doing these daily recaps. And I was like, I really see this opportunity here. He's outlining it so clearly that this DeepSeek situation is not going to be an issue. It's an opportunity here. And that's where I took my stake for my initial. I'm up about 40% on that position in not a very long period of time. And I really do give a lot of credit to you for being that thing that put me over the edge with confidence. And I feel like probably a lot of your audience feels the same way.
Yeah, I agree. Look, when things get really bad, the question becomes, do you buy? Do you look at the opportunity? Do you observe what's going on? Or are you kind of more hesitant? And I think with NVIDIA, and I think it's fair to be hesitant in a lot of different scenarios, but with NVIDIA, it just seemed stupid that it was there given the importance of, what the company was turning into. So yeah, I think that's also a big part of it, right? Like if you can be the essentially therapist in the room for a lot of people when things go south, they definitely feel more comfortable when things get back to normal because we know things tend to not go south forever. And, they gain a lot more trust with you as well.
And then one more question. Sorry, one more question. I got to make sure I don't forget this. It was about the piece that Evan talked about earlier, which is not being scared to add when you're above your average, your cost basis. I wanted to understand your methodology of adding to these positions like Robinhood, like Palantir. When you're saying, hey, this is a generational company, are you doing something that's more similar to a DCA strategy? Are you simply looking for, because you're adding on up days too, you're adding on down days. It's not necessarily like you're just, hey, when it's red, I buy. So I wanted to understand a little bit more of what the strategy was to continue to add to these positions.
Yeah, I mean, like, so when we see a pretty hefty drawdown, that's when I think of adding. So like 10% or more, it usually gets me interested in adding. Now, a lot of these stocks I have full positions in. So like I didn't buy anything today. Today is a red day. But also I've been buying for the past 11 months, And I think that there is a little bit of weird retail psychology of like anytime there's red, you buy. It's like, I know that's been rewarded all year, but it's November. If you haven't bought every time there was red this whole year, Like, yes, you can buy again today for sure, but like there's also something of just like, hey, I want to have some capital on the side. I don't want to just jump in every single time. So I'm not adding to Hood, I'm not adding to Palantir, I'm not adding to Video. First, I already added to all of them back in October. Second of all, it's like I have full positions. There's no reason for me to get super excited about it again. However, during April, when they were not full positions, they were, facing a massive drawdown, that's when I decided to add and add aggressively. And that's why, I don't need to add that much anymore. In terms of adding on up days, I usually when I, like Grab, for example, when it hit $6 for the first time, because it finally hit a level it hadn't seen in 5 years, that's when I added. Because to me, psychologically, I'm like, okay, if the street is willing to normalize this price action for Grab, I should be willing to say, hey, the street will likely be ready to take it even higher. It doesn't have to go to the moon, but it definitely can get out of that sort of $4, $5 range that it's at. And so I bought as well. Now it's back below 6. It is what it is. And that's the consequences sometimes of dealing with it. But I'm just not afraid if there's not hyper momentum leading to an upswing. Oklo, that's at 106 right now, down from 193. The fundamentals of it made it very hard to add on every 52-week high because I was like, there's no revenue, there's no earnings. Whereas Grab, there's amazing fundamentals. Why wouldn't I be okay with adding a little bit more? So I guess my methodology is when I hit new 52-week highs and I feel like I don't have a full position, I add. And when I see 10% drawdowns or more, 5% I'll nibble, but 10% is when I'm like, all right, it's time to throw in some more as well.
Got it. Evan, what were you saying there?
No, you're good. I was just gonna kind of ask what the general vibes were on your streams over the last days or so. Obviously, the market's been going down a little bit, but we're still pretty much right at all-time highs. If we look at that fear and greed index, I said that a little weird. If we look at the fear and greed index, it's obviously an extreme fear, but everyone's just gonna complain about that. You should bring that up to Stock Talk. I know you guys do your awesome show. I love to see you doing a Spaces. But he doesn't like it. I know a lot of people give it some crap, but I don't know. There seems to be a lot of panic, and we're only down a couple percentage points. I'd be curious of what your chat, your streams have been like.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, right? Like it's thousands of people losing money all at the same time. So the vibe is definitely not as fun on red days. Some of these days are very healthy though, and that's what I try to say and try to navigate. I think people just want to know why we're red, and that's what I try to do is like explain what I think is happening and why the markets are acting like that. But it's definitely it sucks,
Well, yeah, I mean, right now, and it's different on some of the individual stocks, but just like you said, incredibly healthy pullback here on SPY. We're just pulling back right now into the 50-day SMA. We hit that. We're already back up above it, right? It rebounded, like exactly like you're saying. If the market never pulled back, nobody would ever have an opportunity to get anything at a good deal. So I agree with you. Evan, what were you saying there?
I was just going to say that, like, just through what we're talking there, one of my favorite things about your live streams is, like, when I watch it, you're going to have a good time. You're going to go through stocks, but it's also really informative. You do a really good job at, bringing all the biggest news stories, and sometimes mine are in there, but also Wall Street Engine does a fantastic job, and Kobe Isi, and there are a couple other people. Like, I feel like for the people who tune into your morning show, not only do you get to talk about stocks and do stuff, but you are kept up to date. You get a solid opinion on it. We get the chat's take on it as well. I just really enjoy the way, and then clearly so do the people. I enjoy the way you run the live streams, and it's super informative. And I think that I don't know if you actually hired him a little bit, but I know you were talking about hiring that cactus guy who puts all the updates in the chat. And I'm curious as you're looking to, first of all, why you think information and the news and keeping people up, why that is a part of your stream, and you've done that. And also, as you get bigger, as you get more people on, are you thinking about hiring some people? I know we have a couple hundred people probably listen here. Well, maybe we'll get this out. We think a clipper, an editor, someone for a news person, anything that you think you really need going forward into 2026.
Yeah, the reason I hired Cactus is because he was in the chat every day putting out updates. And so in my head, I was like, okay, he's here every day. I'm literally using his comments as like my source of news. And so I hit him up. I was like, if you're here every day, you want to just get paid to do this, and we can formalize this a little bit, and you can kind of send it to me. You can be my Bloomberg terminal because it's cheaper to pay you than pay $25,000 a year to Bloomberg. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so, yeah, it became my own source of getting news, and it's from the community, which is super awesome because you've been watching for years. And Mike, I appreciate it. I've been watching him since he had around 100 followers. Yeah, there have been people that have been there for so long, and it's definitely evolved. So yeah, I don't know if the show is going to grow to the point where we hire multiple people, but I definitely needed someone to really help me with the news updates because there's just so many every day, and that's what he does. So he got hired.
Yeah.
You think
I
an
wanted
editor or a clipper? Is that something you're, or you think now?
Not at the moment, but I definitely think in the future, right? There could be clip channels and all that stuff. It's just, yeah, it hasn't been a big priority at the moment.
Evan, opportunity here for Amit Daily. Start that. Have you seen our daily account?
Oh, that'd be
Okay,
great.
yeah, actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I think it might do well. I find it crazy. Like, so many people struggle to grow on multiple platforms. Like, I see so many people who are big on YouTube and they have tiny X's, or big on Instagram and other platforms. And your X honestly pumps pretty well. Your tweets do well. So it's the success cross-platform is also, I'm sure, makes you feel better. I know in the content creator space, there's always like a what's tomorrow going to look like? It's not guaranteed. Are people going to end up leaving? But kind of having that aura across platforms. And by the way, I did see you started an Instagram as well.
Yeah, Instagram's the one I don't know how to do. So I kind of made that more for fun, for like my own personal life, but maybe that ends up turning into something too.
So it's a time to put on the Carp t-shirt. Palantir's going green.
Are we? We're going green? Okay.
That's what I'm being told in the chat.
We're not green, but we're we are. No, we're 5 cents from green. Maybe we
just
see
a
that.
few
Wow,
you're not allowed to leave the live stream.
You can't leave it. Yeah, Palantir is up
literally from when we started.
Came on.
Oh, dude, this is gonna make the market close so much easier to digest for people, unless we get rugged in the next hour. But
do you get tired from burnout? You're literally doing the market open, the market close. That's you go live. That's like 4 hours. And you have like 10 p.m. live streams. We got the different stuff. I saw you on Steven's channel yesterday. It feels like you've kind of picked up the amount of content you're doing. Maybe it's just being shown to me more, but you're picking up the content you're doing with some other people there. I'm curious on burnout and stuff like that, but is that a strategy going forward next time? We picking up for the next couple months?
Yeah, I enjoy doing it every day, which has really helped allowing me to like not, I guess, get burnt out. There are definitely days where it's just like tiring, but that's any job, right? And like if I get to sit in front of a screen and do my job, I always try to remind myself like you're not driving to some office. Like I did that for 2 years, and that was part of the journey, but that sucked as well. So it's like you always got.
What was your job before?
I did public speaking and debate consulting because I did debate in high school and was relatively successful. So I started getting paid for consulting these different clients, and I had to drive like to all these different locations, 60 miles back and forth. So it was 120 miles a day in New Jersey, 5 days a week. Like it is like that type of career was totally different than what I'm getting to do today. And so the burnout is not really from the actual sitting down and doing it. It's the intellectual burden of just like, you're so constantly inundated with news and information. And at some point you just want to just like forget about everything and like take a minute to sit back. And that's when the news breaks and then you have to get right back into it. So I guess from that perspective, it's a little bit of burnout. With Steve, I'm just, I'm helping grow his channel because he's contributed to my channel for so long. So, popping on his channel every Thursday is just like my way of helping him out. But yeah, I definitely think to be relevant in the content space, you have to commit to it every week. But after the market close, I try to separate, YouTube life from personal life and at least take that time to. Saturdays, I don't do anything. That's what it is. Saturdays, I do absolutely nothing. So I try to keep everything free on Saturdays.
Do you have a position in BMNR?
I do.
Yeah, he does. Unfortunately for today, we'll
was
come
this-
back.
Was this
Don't talk
before or
crap.
after Evan?
What did you say?
I think
Were you in it before or after the lunch
I think
in Vegas?
I think Evan got in it before me. Pretty sure.
so
But
far,
started
not a
voting-
great thing.
Around 40 to 42 is when I really started adding.
Your
So we're
audience
below
knows you, man. I said he likes talking way too much to burn out.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh, the linguistic expert. That's what you're being called. That's super cool though. That's an interesting job, man. 60 miles each way, 120 miles per day. I only drove, by the way, this year, sub 2K miles total this year of driving.
Great.
So yeah, no, I took 45 flights this year so far, but driving a little bit less. Okay. You have a little bit more time here, like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I want to just dig into a couple things that are very relevant news-wise right now. Elon's pay package and what this means for Tesla and Tesla earnings as a whole. This is a position which it seems like you're very passionate about. You posted the video of driving up to Boston. For me, it's my largest single stock position. So I just wanted to get your read right now on where Tesla is as a company.
Well, I think Elon deserves to get paid. I think it's kind of crazy that people would think that if the guy 10x's the stock, that he doesn't deserve to get paid. So I'm happy that he got a majority of the vote. I think Tesla is the best physical embodiment of AI. Robotics, FSD. I mean, there is just more and more and more verticals that you can actually see a clear path to monetization. The multiple you're paying is aggressive for Tesla. That's always been the case. But I do think having exposure to Tesla over the next 10 years would be very, very important. And now Elon's very motivated to become the world's first trillionaire. So yeah. I don't know. There's plenty of bear cases for Tesla, but time and time again, it is one of the most high quality companies in the market. They're not growing because the earnings have been bad over the past couple of years. But I think if that changes over the next 1 or 2 years, especially with Optimus, I think the future is very, very bright for Tesla.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Rapid firing through a few others here. Something that you talk about a lot on the timeline and you post about pretty often is crypto, specifically Bitcoin. Yeah. And I'm just curious, general thoughts on Bitcoin, exposure, pieces like that.
Don't have a ton of exposure. I use Robinhood kind of as my main exposure to Bitcoin. I do like the idea of protecting against currency debasement. I think that's really important. The infinite money printing from the US federal government likely means, and global governments likely mean that you're going to need some type of hedge. So yeah, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I used to not like it 3-4 years ago, kind of got orange pilled over the past couple of years, even though I don't actively buy it. But I do think it's a very important asset class, and it's not going to go away like some of the bears think. I think it will be around for a very long time.
The debasement trade is very real. Any interest in gold or lean more towards Bitcoin there?
I would buy Bitcoin over gold any day of the week.
Got it. Okay. Very nice. All right. So we've hit on really Palantir a little bit. They had recent earnings, which were really good earnings. The numbers just seem to continue to get better and better. The partnerships are amazing that they continue to establish. AI is becoming more deeper and embedded into everything that we do. At this point, you talked about, hey, like this is a once in a lifetime. When you say that, does that mean like, hey, I also am thinking that we're still early in the game here as to what could be accomplished by a company like Palantir?
Yeah, I think we are so early. They are growing at a rate that is just incredible. Karp said it today on CNBC that they are putting up startup level growth with margins that a startup would never see in the public markets. I mean, when you're growing 50 or 60% top line with 50% adjusted operating margins, it's kind of ridiculous. And it's like, if they can just continue that, then I think this is going to be a very fun story. A lot is baked into the stock price, obviously, with the multiple that it has. But I think the reason that's baked into the price is because you're seeing a company execute at a level that we've never seen before. So, yeah, I mean, I continue to hold Palantir. I bought more at 172 a couple weeks ago. I haven't bought in this recent little dip back down to 170, but I was buying at $8. I'm buying at 170. I hope to be buying much higher than this eventually as the company continues to grow. I just think if they can keep this up for the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be a $1 trillion company. I don't know when, but I do think that's very possible.
Yeah, it's exciting. General question, and then Evan, I'll see if you have any others here, and then we can move to wrap up. Across the companies that you have in the portfolios, what is your methodology for searching for what could be seen as a red flag? Like what would cause you to say, hey, I need to rethink these types of positions? Because obviously you're very entrenched within them, but are you constantly looking for something that could be a red flag? Or is there a process, some type of search trigger that says, hey, like I need to rethink this?
I think management doing things that I don't like to see, and that could be as simple as like very excessive stock-based compensation without being able to reduce the earnings, the shares outstanding via some form of buybacks, right? Like there's a variety of different financial metrics that you can see that could be a red flag. Obviously earnings and like the fundamentals, like, hey, if there's a trend in a couple quarters where something continues to go down, that's not going the right way. So yeah, I would say it's quarter by quarter. You take something very specific, but realistically it's about, is management doing something where you feel not safe with your money in management hands? And it's not as simple as insider selling, right? It's has something to do more deeper than that. And you've seen it with some of these smaller companies where excessive dilution, at the money offerings, unpriced warrants, like a lot of that stuff tends to be red flag.
For sure. For sure. Evan, any other thoughts or questions you want to go over?
I would like to ask one or two of my own version of rapid fire questions.
Sure.
First one, a little bit different, more on the channel side of it, but I kind of believe the finance media landscape is a couple years behind the sports media landscape. And what kind of happened? The Pat McAfees of the world, the Bustin' with the Boys, the biggest streamers, the biggest YouTubers, they ended up getting signed to ESPN, the mainstream channel.
Yeah.
Would you want to be a CNBC host one day? Or is that something that you are very excited about, staying your own mainstream media thing? Or do you think going into it and building and turning CNBC into more what it should be is something that would excite you?
No, I'd rather stay independent. I just feel like those organizations are so bureaucratic and corporate that it's hard to change them. Number two is just like, it's not as fun. Like I get to say whatever I want on my stream. Pat McAfee cannot say whatever he wants.
Did you see the McAfee thing that happened with the Brett Favre stuff where he was like kind of like smack talking Brett Favre for all the stuff that was going down? So they sued him. So now on the McAfee show, there's a little banner that says this is a comedy show that runs on the bottom so that they can't get sued because it's a comedy show.
See, I heard about some controversy with them, but I didn't hear about that one in particular. That's my point. It's like Disney's a public stock. So when Pat McAfee or Stephen A. Smith say something, it affects shareholders. With me, YouTube is an independent platform. So it's just like, it made a hostile takeover. But no, I like being independent. I like doing my own thing. So
I've seen you doing more interviews. Do you have any dream interviews? Anyone that you really want to get on for a talk?
Dream interviews. Jensen's up there and Elon's up there. I would say those two. Yeah.
Do you have, I guess, obviously like those people are awesome. Do you have other connections at the companies that you talk to that you kind of like bounce off of? If like, I know like, for example, Sawyer obviously like has a lot of people at Tesla that he'll just like run ideas by and talk with them and get insights. Evan, obviously all the NVIDIA connects, him and all them, they're just best buds. So I'm just curious, like if you like chat with other people at the companies.
You mean chat with like the employees at the companies?
Yeah. Like people who are like on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to a few of them here and there, the Robinhood guys, the Palantir guys. I mean, like usually when you become a bigger part of the company's outwardly appearance, you start consulting with, or not consulting, but you start like talking to a lot more of their employees that are out there. So yeah, I've talked to them and, a lot of them are super appreciative for the content that you put out there, but a lot of them are also just real people. Like, I've gone to a bar with a couple of Palantir employees and we talk about life. We're not talking about ontology or data or anything, like, or just, one guy just bought a new house and he married his girlfriend. It's like, you're talking about life. So they're real people.
Talking about life over some well-done steaks. I love it.
Exactly. Medium well.
Yeah. Medium well.
Medium well. Wow. I feel like we're changing a little bit.
He's moving towards it. Is Trump an interview that you'd want to do?
Is Trump an interview that I'd want to do? Yeah, of course. That'd be cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like that'd be a good one. You talking to him specifically about the stock market.
Yeah, that would definitely be fun. I definitely think that'd be a good time.
Evan, sorry to interrupt your rapid fire, please.
No, honestly, that's good for me. What movie should I watch this weekend? And then then I'm done there. Any good movie recs?
There's a movie called High School Musical that I really do think is just a phenomenal movie. And I truly do think, Evan, if you take the time to watch it, have you seen it yet or no?
Of course, we're all in this together.
Okay, so I have not seen it, and at this point, I don't see it out of principle. So that every time that I say I've not seen it, my fiance can go, "What?" and she freaks out. So I just can't see it at this point.
Yeah, I think High School Musical is the one you got to watch. That's my recommendation.
All right.
Yeah.
Good for me. All I want to say after that is Amit is killing it. You don't need me to go and say, hey, go like and subscribe to his channel. The guy has 12K live concurrent, but there's some really cool stuff going on. There's 180 people on the YouTube, a lot more on the X. I know they love you. We'll put out some good clips. And yeah, I just congrats on this success. One of the things that's also pretty awesome is seeing it across platforms too, the Substack, everything like that. I'm sure that kind of, like I said, as a creator, it can be difficult sometimes. You can feel like what's going to happen tomorrow. But once you see the success across like every single different platform and at the scale of it, you're definitely getting to that next level. So yeah, it's been really cool to watch, and I've been a fan. So congrats, man.
Well, I appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are like the new CNBC in terms of media proliferation. Evan has all these different accounts covering the news. I mean, I use your guys' accounts literally every day to get the news, to be able to show people. So part of the reason I'm able to do what I'm able to do is because you guys are like just on it every day, you know? And so I think it's really cool. All of us are supporting each other. All of us are in this game together. You, me, Tanner, Roy, Chris, like all of us doing this every day. And it's cool. It's with your buddies, getting to talk stocks every day and navigate the markets. And it's money. You know, it's not sports. It's not like if the Knicks win a championship, like I know Evan will go crazy because he's from New York, and like I'll be happy too. But like at the end of the day, that doesn't really affect us, right? But if BMNR gets to 70, we all make a lot of. So it's like that's when it's more fun when you get to do this every day. And so I'm happy to keep doing it.
It was wild you wearing a Red Sox hat for a good little bit there. That was crazy.
I got a lot of shit for it. A lot of shit.
Well, I will say, this is actually going to be my last question then, because you mentioned you're like, hey, if the Knicks win the championship, like, is it really? But like, look at where Robinhood has been leading these prediction markets, right? And they're posting now daily about sports. And last night they were like, the
Did you
Broncos
see
have
the
been on a
stat?
run. Can they keep going?
2.3 billion event contracts were traded in Q3. 2.5 billion were traded in October alone. That's a crazy stat. It's accelerating. Sorry for cutting you off, but
it is likely going to be the best, the fastest growing part of their business ever. I mean, pricing risk is a global market, and it looks like, that's not going to stop happening.
Yeah. Event contracts are really, really interesting. They've been around for forever. It's just such a new format for them to be focused into. There's a guy out here in Puerto Rico that lives nearby, and kind of asked him how he built his wealth. And he built one of the first exchanges for insurance contracts for weather events. And now like all these farmers, or like Walmart for their supply chain, they all trade insurance contracts, and they've been doing that for decades. It just wasn't inside of an app like Robinhood where everybody could just now hedge on anything.
Right.
Yeah. So crazy stuff. But yes, there you go. There are ways, I guess, to even bet on it on sports with these pieces. But the point stands is what you're talking about. It's real money. It's real people's lives. And it's incredible, the lives that you've obviously been able to change over the last few years. It's generational wealth, transparently for many people, especially those who, may have played with an option at some point or in time or something along those lines. Not that that's necessary, but pretty crazy what's been happening. We're excited to follow this journey as it continues. I'm sure we'll see you at some event sometime soon. Steak and a drink in order. Any final words for the live stream today?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love that you guys are doing this. You guys are crushing it in media, doing it in your own way. And, I think there's a really big future for Wolf Financial and stock market news and where this kind of turns. I think 10 years from now, we're going to be looking back thinking this was really cool that we all just jumped into this and like saw what it could become. And so, I'm happy to be here every day. And hopefully Evan's 100% port BMNR can go well.
In Tom we trust.
Hopefully Stock Talk doesn't call us an idiot for BMNR long term.
Evan, any final comments?
We will have the final laugh.